Welcome back, industry explorers. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming to this channel. Now, if you like what you are watching, please subscribe, like this video, and head over to Patreon for bonus content. Today, I'm excited for this guest because I've been following her on LinkedIn for like at least 2 years, and I've been wanting to interview her for quite some time now. Introducing Rachel Walla of Ally Safety. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you? I agree. This has been a long time coming.
It has, and I love your videos. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and share. I've got this, I'm going to screen share right now because you've got to see just Rachel's like YouTube channel summarized, and I got her channel right here. Check this out. Yay! Safety made entertaining. I love that. Were you guys able to see that? I think I screen shared.
I couldn't see it on my end, but we can always link it if we need to.
Okay. I hope it wasn't just like us like hanging out here and me doing this and like people didn't actually see the video that I shared. But yes, head over to Ally Safety if you want to see that. And she's got a ton of really awesome safety training videos. And I'm sorry, what is it? Safety made entertaining. So tell us a little bit about Ally Safety.
Yeah, so I started it about 2 years ago. It's like the third iteration of me doing a business on my own. And I think I finally got it down on what I wanted to do. So it's all about making safety training entertaining. Like you said, safety training is terrible. It's got a reputation for being really bad. And there's no reason that it needs to be, especially with all the tools that we have available to us now. It's so much easier to make video and training content. So our goal was to make training entertaining. And so ever since then, we've started by putting videos on YouTube, and then we've grown into licensing our videos out to bigger companies. And we also do a lot of custom video work right now as well.
Fantastic. So talk about the safety industry. Are you specific to one industry, or are you safety and you cover like all industries?
I cover all industries. Most of my experience is in construction and manufacturing, but I've had to do so much for consulting over the years before I got into doing videos that I ended up in maritime. I've done a little bit with mining. I've had a little bit of experience in a lot of different places. I would say overall, like the most demand I get for videos right now is coming from construction and general industry.
Very cool. Entertainment. I'm a safety professional, you could say, in the entertainment sector. So entertainment would fall under general industry. So hopefully we can get you coming out and doing videos of like safety involved in putting on live events and entertainment and film and TV. Like that's
It's
the cool thing about
interesting.
safety.
Yeah, there's so many different sectors, and I think I may be able to go to the ABIH, the Industrial Hygiene Conference this year, and
Mhm.
I'm hoping to meet a girl there who's really well known in the sort of entertainment industry, safety and industrial hygiene, and I'm like, that would be fascinating because I have never really interacted with anybody who specializes in that, and there's so much to that world that I know nothing about.
Yeah. So specifically, what is your role? How did you actually become a safety trainer?
I just started making this up as I go.
Yeah. What
Uh,
do the letters by your name mean?
So the CSP is for Certified Safety Professional. That's kind of like the equivalent of a professional engineering license. But for safety people, you can get it after 5 years of experience if you have enough reference letters, pass a 5 hour test. It's a whole process. And then CIH is Certified Industrial Hygienist. So I specialize in how your workplace exposures can affect your health. So things like dust or noise or radiation, all those types of things. So
Mhm.
that's what my letters mean. And how I got into doing video training was I really wanted to do it. It's what I'm really passionate about. And so I just started making videos and putting them on YouTube with an intention of building this into a business. And over time, it has grown to that. But it was very iffy at the start.
Mhm. What are some of the responsibilities as a safety trainer?
So, what I think is super important is being a credible source. And so, I always try to make sure that I've got all the bases covered in terms of what people need to know to keep them safe. And sometimes that's a little bit different than what OSHA requires to be in training.
Mhm.
So, if you're going by just what OSHA requires and creating a training off of that, I feel like you're missing a lot of the why behind the how. And so I see my job is to provide credibility, provide reasons why people need to do things a certain way, and to provide it in a way that's fun to watch. I think that's super critical. There's no excuse for death by PowerPoint anymore.
I totally agree. And
Yeah.
that's why I love the poster behind you. Work safely, live boldly. Do you want to talk about what that means to you?
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. Sorry, wrong side. I'm mirrored here. So, what we are working on is I wanted a way to kind of communicate about safety that people could relate to a little bit better. And so, for most of us, we have hazardous hobbies and we choose to take certain risks. And, like, what I'm talking about at conferences right now is that decision between risk versus reward. The thing is that most people would agree it's not worth it to risk your personal health or safety for your work. A lot of us take risks off the clock, and that's our own business. You're free to live a life that's adventurous, but why risk any of that for a job? So, what I want to talk about more and more is work safely and live boldly. And this is based on what I've seen in terms of people getting hurt or accidents and things like that, and how you should approach your work and your life outside of work, thinking about, okay, I'm going to take risks. We all take risks. You can't live a life without risk. What isn't guaranteed is the reward. So when we take risks, let's make sure we're getting a reward out of it. And that's where the live boldly comes in because I've taken a lot of huge risks in my life and it's made my life better. And I wouldn't say that I've got this figured out. I make a lot of mistakes too. But I want to talk about how we can use those thought patterns to our advantage and get more out of it.
I love it. And I think that kind of encapsulates my next question, which is how does that fit into the big picture? Because when you approach your work as a safety trainer, you are separating the risk taking when you're on the clock versus off the clock. Um, And so when you are working in the construction and general industry, providing your safety training, do you go on site and visit people? Is it only instructional videos that you provide? You mentioned that safety training no longer has to be death by PowerPoint anymore. So, can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about how your responsibilities as a safety trainer kind of fit into the big picture?
Well, as of right now, I don't do a lot of on-site training because throughout the last year we've been making so many videos, we haven't had time to, but I want to get back to that because I think it's super important. I speak at a lot of conferences, but I think the important thing is to keep your boots on the ground and stay plugged into the people who are actually
Yeah.
doing the work. So I don't want to lose touch there. I still do some consulting work on the side, which I really enjoy. And a lot of times I'm doing like normal industrial hygiene studies. So I'll go out and sample for welding fumes, in the middle of making videos sometimes. But I like doing it. And I think it's super important to stay connected to the people you're talking to. So I'm kind of like in between, but I would say most people who are safety trainers actually do more in-class training than I do,
Mhm.
which is weird, but it's a matter of timing right now.
Well, I think it's pretty cool. It gives us like a different perspective of what safety training can look like that maybe, if someone is researching what it means to be a safety trainer and how to become a safety trainer, they're getting a whole other perspective in this live stream right now, which is super cool. And if you guys are enjoying what you are seeing and watching and hearing, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to Industry Explorers, subscribe to Ally Safety, and check out my Patreon, patreon.com/industry explorers. Let's move on to lifestyle questions. Can you describe an example of a work project?
Yeah,
You've
so
already kind of covered it. You're not like going on site as much, but you would like to.
Mhm. Well, I would say the last year and a half actually has been mostly video creation because we had to build up our content library. I really didn't have a whole lot of full-length training to show, and creating it takes a lot of time. So, for example, we recently just finished our excavation and trenching video.
Mhm.
So, how that usually starts is I'll script it out. Sometimes I hire a little bit of help just because it can be mind numbing. And
Yeah.
it's nice to have somebody who's also in safety put together all the technical information. Then I can go through and check it and then add what I want to make it fun and interesting. And that way I can approach it with a fresh set of eyes. This particular one, I didn't have that luxury.
Mhm.
So I scripted it from start to finish. We contacted a couple companies and looked at where we want to film and what it was possible. Filming and finding a location to film on is super hard because there's a liability involved for the company that you're filming with.
Yeah.
So I ended up going with my dad because one, it's awesome to be able to work with your dad, and he has an excavation company. So it was like a super cool project and kind of different than what we normally do. So we traveled out to the site, filmed for a day, and now we're in what's called post production, where we're doing all the editing. Then we'll go through and check it, make sure that it's up to snuff and that everything's packaged how we want it before the final version, which we will send to the company that we're working with. They'll check it, they'll see if there's anything they want us to go through, and eventually we'll get to the final draft and be done. But there's a lot of like checks and balances in between.
How many people help you throughout a project?
I would say probably 3 or 4, and
Okay,
that's about it.
that's a solid team because doing video production is it's immense work.
It's
That's why I
so much.
only do live streams is so that I don't have to do post-production unless I'm getting clips to share to social media. But it's a
Yeah.
massive endeavor. So I'm glad you've got a team that helps you with that. So obviously travel can be involved.
Mhm.
How often do you think a typical safety trainer would travel for their work?
I would say weekly.
Mhm.
Like, I live in Portland, Oregon, so there would be enough work here where if I was training in classrooms, I wouldn't have to travel every week, but, I would probably be driving several hours on certain days to get to, maybe Salem or Bend or something like that. But I would say a lot of them fly pretty frequently, so you gotta be aware that's probably something you're gonna be asked to do and be open to it.
Mhm. Especially if you're working for a company with multiple locations, you may need to travel to each location, or if you are an in-house trainer, then maybe there's not as much travel if there aren't multiple locations. Things to keep in mind as you, I guess, interview an employer and decide if you wanna be a safety trainer with them. Or you
Mhm.
work for yourself, though. right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
and I travel all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, like last week, I was back in Montana, came all the way back to Portland, then was in Spokane, Washington for a conference. And it's just a lot of that right now. We have estimates out for videos that would be custom that we would be doing from coast to coast. So it kind of depends on what projects come through, all of that. So I work all the time. I would say if you're a safety trainer working as an employee, you would work less.
Yeah. So this is a perfect follow-up. How much time do you spend on yourself? And when you're not working, and what do you like
Mhm.
to do?
Well, I'm getting back to spending some time on myself because throughout the last year, I really did not at all.
Yeah.
So I would say, maybe I take a day off a week is what I'm trying to do. Uh, you know how it is if you
Are you taking any days off right now?
I would say no solid days off. Like there's never a day where I'm not doing a couple hours worth of work.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my choice. Like I love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do get time off, I want to get back to hiking. I love backpacking. I do that a lot. I travel internationally a lot. And then me and my husband both love to snowmobile. So that's my favorite winter sport. Summer, it's all about hiking. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun things to do now that COVID's over. And a few of my friends are moving back to the area. So lots of positives. But I have to admit, like, I like my work a lot and I do get burnt out, but I'm happy with my work life balance at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing about work-life balance is for some people, 2 day a weekend is all they need, and for some people they just want to work even more, and it looks different for everybody. So, I guess my next question for you would be, actually, I have two questions. My first one is, do you have any international clients? Because that would be super cool.
It is cool. I have a few international clients, but so far everything's been done remotely.
Hmm.
So I haven't been asked to travel internationally yet, but I'm definitely open to it. Like it'd be super fun. And I did this series on my YouTube channel called Workplace Safety Around the World, where
Hmm.
we just interviewed people who are in safety from other countries. And I'll probably do a few more of them, even though they weren't like the most popular videos because they're
Yeah,
very niche.
right.
But I thought it was fascinating. Like every time I'm in another country and I see a construction site or a big project going on, I always want to be like, oh, how's that done here? What are you guys doing? And it's not super different, but I think it's the cultural differences are what make it so fascinating.
How so?
Well, I mean, just things like a lot of the work that I've done has been on projects where we have very few like people from other countries. But then
Mhm,
if I go work at a facility that's a clean room facility, high tech manufacturing, especially the engineering group ends up being very multicultural.
mhm.
Or I've been to certain manufacturing places where it's like they have a huge Vietnamese population working there. And it's like, it's very interesting. So, on the other side, some of the people that I've talked to who work in other countries, they'll talk about things like, having a prayer break at work. And I'm just
Oh,
like, as an American, that blows my mind.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, going back to one of my other questions regarding lifestyle, how can you tell that you are approaching that burnout state?
Um, when
And
I
if you have
really
a
don't want to
go-to
think about
activity.
safety anymore at
Mhm,
all, when I'm like, I have to make a presentation. I'm like, I don't want to even think about safety. I would like to just have a day where I don't even talk about it.
mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. If you guys are enjoying this information, head over to Patreon/Industry Explorers and become one of my patrons. Patreon, I hate the word patron. I think it's a boring word. And it also makes me think of patronizing. So I say be my patron because I'm weird. But anyway, or if you don't want to pay $5 a month to get some bonus content, then stick around here on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about education. Is a college
Mhm.
degree required to become a safety trainer?
No, absolutely not. You can definitely do it without a degree, and you can do it through certifications, which would be another way to kind of prove that you know what you're talking about without getting a degree. Of course, degrees do help, and I think more and more companies are asking for them, but I think that the world is changing as well. And so no, you don't necessarily need a degree.
So if someone were going the college route, is there is there a major you would recommend to them?
Yeah, I would say start with occupational safety and health. So you got the safety basics. But what was super helpful to me is I had to take a technical writing class and some technical communications classes.
Mhm.
And it's all about how you communicate technical information. And so much of safety communication is just translating the technical to be relatable. So I feel like my job is translations, actually. Like,
Yeah, I
let's
feel
take code
that.
and make it something that's real. So that's super helpful. And then even just like Photoshop and some of the Adobe that I learned in college, or any photography, anything like that that can help you gain some creative skills is going to be super helpful, because you can put the information forward in a way that's visually pleasing, and you can communicate through more than words. When you can
Mhm.
communicate with pictures and with demonstrations, it's very valuable.
I was a theater major, and I think it would be really
Woo!
interesting to do a safety class through interpretive dance.
I love it. That's badass. You're a theater major. I would have
I
loved to just like spend 10 years in college doing theater, because it's just so fun. But yeah.
Yeah, I was doing like the production aspect of theater. That's what my
Sweet.
degree was spent, learning about rather than the performance aspect of entertainment. And that's my segue into safety is I started out being the technician, being the stagehand, and eventually doing my own research on safety and how things are supposed to be done. And then I started getting work as a safety trainer. So
Super cool.
did I have to have college? No, not necessarily. What was your degree in? Was it in occupational safety?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I
Which,
honestly thought that was only a master's program. So I didn't realize that some schools offered that as a bachelor degree.
yeah, mine did. Honestly, I wouldn't get a master's in it personally, just because of my career goals, but I'm glad I did the 4 year.
Yeah.
That's
We're
super
gonna
interesting. You should talk to James McPherson from Rebranding Safety. He's got a similar background as you.
I feel like I know that name. And I
Yeah,
think
he's on YouTube.
if I see the face, it'll probably click. And we're probably already connected on LinkedIn. That wouldn't even surprise me. I need to see the face. All right. So we're going to talk more about certifications and certificates in the bonus content, which will be available
Okay.
on Patreon. But for my final education question, what are some essential interpersonal or technical skills for being a safety trainer? You touched on the creative aspect of it.
Yeah, I really think that having good interpersonal skills and just being able to talk to people is so critical, and being able to manage a crowd.
Okay, yeah,
Which
yeah, crowd
nobody,
management. Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, nobody
Class
talks about
communication.
this. But I've had to give presentations that were more training in essence, so they're still relative to what we're talking about, but where you're dealing with people who are like very, very upset about a certain topic, and you have to go from upset, disgruntled employees to constructive meeting. And
Mhm.
so sometimes those courses on different types of people that will show up in your training classes, because there's like certain stereotypes that you will find, and it's super important that you know how to handle certain ones, because some want to derail the training and they want to show that they know more than the trainer. Some want to agree with everything the trainer says. Some will zone out. So it's kind of like, okay, you've got this room full of personalities. How do you get them all on the same page in a way that's cohesive and productive and not going to cause more problems or damage the culture? So those sorts of skills are super important. In terms of technical skills, I would say there's so much that you need to know in safety. It's like half technical. So anything that you can do to get more comfortable with, whether it's engineering or mechanics or the equipment at work, is going to be super helpful to you. Just getting involved in those groups and learning as much as you can about how the actual work is done is super important.
Yeah, how the actual work is done. That is a great starting point if being a safety trainer is something that interests you, because I think the best trainers are the ones who have been there, done that. They've got a lot of stories and a lot of experience, and they can tap into those experiences to be a storyteller and to make safety relevant to the crowd that they're managing, that crowd of personalities that they've got to really connect with. So
Yeah.
this is a great segue into a Q&A. So we have a few people live right now watching. If you guys have any questions that you would like to ask Rachel, please leave a comment below and we will answer those questions live. If you like what you are watching, check out patreon.com/industry explorers. I am really tripping up on my words today. Whew. So anyway, do you have a book that you recommend? Like right now
Yes.
I'm reading Coaching for Performance. I'm loving
Oh,
it.
cool. I haven't actually heard of that one. So, I would say anybody who's in the early stages of their career, redesigning your life. You can't get it on audiobook because they want you to use it like a workbook, but
Mm-hmm.
it's excellent. I believe it's from two professors from Stanford who actually taught the course, but it kind of teaches you to think backwards about like what you want your day-to-day life to look like and design a career around that. I
Mm-hmm.
read it when I quit working for a corporate, when I quit working my corporate job and moved into doing my own thing, and it was super helpful.
Yeah, that is amazing. That's sounds like what Gen Z is really thinking about right now because I follow a few I guess LinkedIn influencers LinkedIn influencers who talk about the nature of work and how you're going to get the best out of people. And you know, people want more autonomy, people want to work remotely, people have different ideas of what in ideal workplaces for them. And for some people, it's they got to be hands on, they got to be on the job site doing it, working with their hands all the time. So that's a really great thing to think about is to start from the end, work your way backwards, and choose a career based on what you want your day to day to look like, based on what your values and your needs and your wants are. It's called redesign. Is it redesign your life or redesigning your life?
It's just designing your life, like doing it for the first time. But I would say if you are in any position where you're kind of rethinking what you want out of a career, it's a good one to start with. Or if
Mhm.
you're just starting out in your career, it's definitely been very helpful to many people.
Love that. So we had a comment that came in, no question. Just wanted to say thanks for the non-boring safety videos. I'm a safety director for a railroad, and your videos help with the OSHA knowledge we don't see as much. Thanks.
Oh, that's awesome.
That
Thank
is
you.
awesome. Ally Safety has just over 14,000 subscribers, and yeah, I love your videos because they are entertaining, they are interesting. It doesn't have to be death by PowerPoint, and I hope that we continue to see, people adopting that sort of not style. Everybody has their own style, but I hope people embrace what their own style is and bring that into their safety training to make it not boring. So,
Yeah, I think we are seeing a change. So it's really good. It's been a long time coming.
yeah. Do you have any industry insights that you want to close out with?
I would say, I graduated, I think, in 2011. It's been a while. But a lot has changed in the last 10 years. I remember when you first started, it seemed so much like the industry was stagnant and just moving so slow. And things are starting to pick up and things are happening. And I think this is a great field to be in. Like, honestly, I've been able to make big risks in my career and always had jobs to go back to. I've worked with excellent people. And I've also been able to work with people from all over. So you're always learning, there's always something new, and it's been really good to me.
Always learning, always something new. That is excellent insight to end this live stream on. Thank you so much, Rachel, for being part of this and for sharing your insights with us. If you guys want to become a safety trainer, watch more of Rachel's videos on Ally Safety and subscribe to her channel on YouTube. I got another comment that just came in. I agree, great content. I must confess, I still use a few PowerPoints. Thanks for the great videos.
Aw.
PowerPoints don't have to be boring. I
Yeah,
don't
you
think
can do them
PowerPoints have to
right
be
for
boring at
sure.
all. When you do it right, it's impactful. So Yeah. Thank you so much for the comment, James. I appreciate it. Yeah, if you're not already subscribed, go to Ally Safety on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Industry Explorers if you want to explore
Yeah.
more careers and find out what it takes to get started in different industries. And if you want to check out the bonus content, follow us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/industry explorers. Until next time, I will see you on our next adventure. Take care,
Thanks,
explorers.
guys.